Daniel Rover Singer, how does one follow up one of the great modern classics of the American theater, the complete works of William Shakespeare, abridged, that you wrote lo these many years ago? And it is a great old chestnut, much like the both of us both look like now, old chestnuts.
I do look a bit like an old chestnut. And I would go so far as to say, even though it was born of American theater, I would say global theater. It really evolved into a global phenomenon, which of course nobody expected.
Sure, and it was a group effort, and it's fun how I get to talk about it because people always assume I wrote it, which I didn't, and I always say no, and I'm able to declare it as a work of genius because I didn't write it. I, I think there might be one or two jokes that I might have put into it, but that still remain. But no, and it is the foundation of the very company who hosts and produces this podcast as we speak. You are not only the founding member, but the founder whose idea it was in the first place to create something called the Reduced Shakespeare Company. I'm right about that, right? Because
It's
it's what I've
true.
been
It's
saying.
true. Yep.
Okay.
I came back from drama school in London, having already worked for the Living History Center in California, which produced the Renaissance fairs and the Dickens fairs. I was already established in their company as a young genius, even when I was a teenager. So when I came back from drama school and said, I want to do a four-man Hamlet, half-hour Hamlet, this was 1981, and I was like 22 years old. They said, whatever you want to do, just do it. Just do it. They looked at my script, they approved it, they gave me a green light, they gave me a little budget for props and costumes, and bam, that was it. They just trusted me. And it turned out to be a pretty good product. So we just built it from there. And a few years later, we escaped the Renaissance Fair and proved that the show could work without that perfect context that the Renaissance Fair provided. That was a big leap forward. And then the Edinburgh Festival, which we thought would be the last time anyone was going to see it. That was 1987. So in that span of 6 years, during which Jess and Adam were very distracted with, the other things going on in their lives. And I was like, no, you must believe in this with me. The audience response to this material is so strong. We
Yeah.
cannot walk away from it. And I'm
Yeah.
so glad we didn't, because it changed the world. I think it invented an entire new genre of entertainment.
It certainly changed my life. Here I am running a company that you founded. So thank you for that. Thank you for my
Oh,
life,
you're
Daniel.
welcome. I've left behind me a trail of institutions that I have started and abandoned. So yeah, I had the opportunity to move into my dream job at Walt Disney Imagineering in 1988. Not long after the show had debuted in Edinburgh. And so I kind of saw that my time with the Reduced Shakespeare Company kind of needed to wrap up, because sometimes I feel like I have to, like raising a child, that you raise it and then you get to a point where you just have to push it into the world. And it was my time to do that with the company. I was very happy with my move to Disney. I stayed there for 12 years. And as a result, now that I'm an old man, I look back on these decisions and say, you know what? Now that I'm retired, I get a pension from Disney. I'm one of those few rare people in the world who actually gets a little monthly check because I did my time at a corporation job, and it was a job I loved.
Certainly one of the rare artists, for sure. Um, well, I love the idea that I can now refer to you as an aging wunderkind. Um,
Thank you.
um, that seems to work. And I also love the idea that the plays and companies are like our children, because I feel the same way. People ask me, well, how do you feel when a company does your play like this or they do it like this? It's like, I don't care. I want my plays to be happy. I want my plays to go out and have a life, and they have done.
Well
Um,
said.
and speaking of plays, you've got a new one, which is very exciting. What was the genesis for Louisa at Fruitland?
Sometimes a play just pops fully formed into your imagination. Other times it's not like that at all. So, Louisa at Fruitlands is an amazing true story that, as far as I know, has never been dramatized. And I stumbled on it completely by accident when I was starting to write a play that is only tangentially associated with this story. So, imagine this: there's this monument in Massachusetts to a farmer who died. His name was Joseph Palmer. He died like around, I don't remember, 1870, 1880, something like that. But his grave marker has this bas relief carved image in marble of his face with this huge Santa Claus beard. And the inscription, persecuted for wearing the beard. Because in the 1840s, his village rejected him, ostracized him, and ended up imprisoning him because he wore a beard. And I thought there was an amazing story there. So I researched it. Turns out his story, which is interesting, was not enough to build a play around. But as I read about his life, I learned about this thing called the Fruitlands experiment. And I knew nothing about it. So I did a little more reading and found out that the transcendentalist community that was growing around Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau in the areas around Boston and Concord, that part of the world, decided to create a farm commune that would espouse transcendentalist values. So the farming wasn't so important as the structure around. They would become enlightened by relying on their own hands and backs for the food that they ate must be grown on property and no association with local commerce. And the more you read about the rules they created for this themselves, the more you think, how did this possibly work? Well, it didn't. But who was on the property with them? The Alcott family. So little Louisa and her three sisters, who were later made famous when she kind of transformed them into the Sisters of Little Women, which is still one of the most celebrated novels in the world. Louisa May Alcott is now just one of the most revered writers. But what was she like when she was 10 years old living on this crazy farm, being instructed in her education by philosophers who were very radical thinkers? So that was plenty to build a play on. So I wrote this in 2020. The pandemic kind of screwed up everybody's timing. And of course, a lot of theaters that used to produce new plays have folded up and disappeared. So I didn't know if the stuff that I had been writing in the last decade was ever going to be seen outside of my living room. But this play was testing particularly well when I was doing staged readings. People were really responsive to the content. So a friend of mine who directs one play a year at the Willits Community Theater in Northern California read it and just totally fell in love with it, thought it was perfect for his company. He showed it to his board. They read it. They approved it. And that was a year ago when I had just been diagnosed with cancer. And I said, yeah, so you're putting it on your schedule for a year from now? That's good timing. That gives me plenty of time for chemotherapy and 3 surgeries. And now I have emerged on the other side, and the play opens July 10th, which is like 2 weeks.
I'm not sure where to start with the amazing parts of that story. That you're in remission is fantastic.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you.
I'm so happy to hear that. But also that plays take their time, like children. They grow and age and come to fruition in the time it takes. And also, not for nothing, God bless community theaters. There's a community theater in Colorado right now, the Greeley Garage Sale Theater in
Love
Greeley,
it.
Colorado, which is rehearsing my new play, which was a pandemic project as well. And I just spent 4 days out in rehearsal, and it's amazing to see a new play stress tested on its
Yes.
feet.
Yes.
And I love the fact that you said it's testing well. Did you put these staged readings together yourself?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in that playwrights with any directing skill at all should direct their first readings, so
Yeah,
there's not
because
another interpretive mind in the way.
yes, it's your vision. You have to, I mean, unless you're a really qualified director yourself, you need to trust that that directorial process is going to work with somebody else interpreting your script. But with a new play, there are just so many little pitfalls that as a writer, you need to anticipate. So yeah, good idea to do those readings yourself as much as possible before handing it over to another director.
Can you
Um,
talk about what you learned in those readings?
well, first of all, you invite your friends to be the audience. I mean, you invite obviously your friends to be the actors as well, but you have to remind them that they're not here to pat you on the back. They're not here to help you say, "Good job! Didn't you work hard on this?" No, I want their toughest criticism because the play doesn't move forward without the tough criticism. And so, you ask all the questions. What do you feel was lacking from this? Was there something in there that made you cringe? I mean, when you're an artist, you have to balance these ideas of creativity and commercialism because yes, I could just do plays that people see in my living room, but I would like this play to be successful. And it takes a lot of giant leaps forward for a play to become successful in a world where playwriting is massively competitive. So
And expensive.
and really expensive, and yeah, the chances of a new play, even if it's really good, of succeeding in that way are very, very slim. So you want people to buy tickets, you want people to recommend it to their friends because of some combination of fascinating characters and interesting story and maybe the inclusion of music. Well, this particular play has amazing themes in it because these transcendentalist thinkers, and I need part of the play to sort of include a Transcendentalism 101 class because I don't expect the audience to know who these people are. It's a true story, but you're telling it from scratch. So these are people who largely turned away from the dogma of traditional religions and turned instead to nature to establish more direct connection with their own internal spirituality or their connection with God. And so there are themes of feminism, of abolitionism, of looking for a truer, purer spirituality in one's life. All these themes that seem very modern and current to us now were all happening with this community in 1843. So it does not feel like an old-fashioned play. It's about structuring an alternative family if the family that you grew up with just isn't working. It's just all this current stuff. So I think people will really connect with the themes of this play and that it has a very good chance of being seen by a wider audience.
Well, and it's encouraging that your friend read it and just off the page wanted to take it on and show it to an audience. And I so agree with you. What's the point of writing something that only five people are going to see? You want to connect with people. That's why we do what we do. Yeah. Is it, you said Louisa May Alcott was 10, it was 10 years old at this point. Are you using child actors? That seems like a challenge.
The child actor who is playing Louisa at 10 years old in this production is a firecracker. I watched on Zoom the first rehearsal that they did off book, where they were just, stumbling to remember their lines and everything. And this little girl was just acting rings around the adult actors. I can't wait to see it. She's phenomenal.
Wow, that's really great. Uh do you anticipate seeing the production and continuing to learn and make changes, or do you
Yeah.
feel like no, it's set?
Yeah, totally. No, there's an adage that plays aren't written, they're rewritten. I'm a total rewriter. This is version 11 of this
Mm,
show.
mm.
So nothing is sacred in my script. It's fortunately, thanks to those really good readings, those were so helpful in evolving the script. And I really made huge progress in shaping the dialogue. I'm always really interested in the way dialogue sounds, because I've been a director, I've been a performer. I don't want to create lines that aren't clear or that come out stumbly. So the language of the show has evolved in a really specific way, which makes it, I think, really fun to listen to. There's tons of humor, tons of jokes in there. And yet, in spite of all that crafting, I feel like that we're going to do like question and answer sessions while I'm at the show afterwards to get feedback from a larger audience, and I'll be taking notes. If somebody says, that whole thing in Act Two just didn't feel like it was working for me, I'm going to see if more of the audience agrees, write it down, potentially continue to revise the script.
Wow, Daniel, the most important thing is you look amazing, you sound amazing, and it sounds like this new play is already amazing. And I just wish I could see it and wish you all the best of luck with it.
Thank you so much.
This podcast is a production of the Reduced Shakespeare Company, reducing expectations since 1981. Go to reducedshakespeare.com for performance dates, actor bios, email newsletters, and so much less.